Well, hello and welcome to Photography on YouTube. I'm glad you found this channel and this video. Today is Fuji Friday, and Fuji Fridays we get to talk a little bit about Fuji gear and cameras and lenses and stuff. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the panoramic mode that is available on the XT1 and XT2. I'm pretty sure it's also on the XT10 and XT20 and maybe the others, but I don't have any other cameras other than the XT1 and XT2 to try it out. So I'll speak to the XT in those two cameras. I'm a firm believer in using the camera you have and the features to the maximum. It might be a little bit gimmicky to have a panoramic mode on there, but it's actually a lot of fun. So there's a couple of things to know about it. Number one, where to find it and how to turn it on. So if you look at your drive dial, there's sort of a odd box looking shape on there. If you turn your drive dial to that, you'll be in panoramic mode. Now there's two different size panoramics that you can have. You can have a larger size one that looks a little bit like this, or a medium sized one that looks a little bit like this. In both cases, as in with all panoramics, your length is much greater than the height of the image. The aspect ratio of the panoramic is such that the length is, in many cases, even double the height of the image. So it's not 4:3 or 1:1. You know, you can have different aspect ratios. But anyway, say that for another day. But when you're in the panoramic mode, what the camera is doing is taking a whole bunch of pictures and it's putting them together in the camera. So with that in mind, it's important to remember that if you're shooting a panoramic with the XT1 or XT2, that it's creating a JPEG image as an end result. You don't have the raw files to stitch together later, you just have the one image. The camera is doing the work there. So whatever your JPEG settings are in terms of the colorization, or if you have it in black and white, or the shadows or the highlights, that's what it's going to be. You're also able to change the shooting mode or shooting direction in addition to the size of the panoramic. So if you're holding your camera in a vertical orientation, there's an arrow pointing that way, you can shoot that way. Or if you're shooting in a horizontal orientation, you can shoot pan that way or down. So there's a number of different ways to do that, and that's an option that's available. The other thing to consider when you're shooting in a panoramic mode is that you want to use a focal length that is 35 millimeters or less. So either a wider angle or something under 35 millimeter. And it can be a little bit frustrating or a little bit tricky to take a panoramic. Golly, you'd think I'd be able to say it by this point. But you have to sweep the image or the scene at a particular rate. And it does take a little bit of practice to do that. When you're taking a panoramic, you probably want to avoid moving objects because it is taking multiple frames and putting them together. If you have a moving object, that object can end up in multiple places within your panoramic. But it is a very handy feature for doing some landscapes or more stationary kinds of objects. You can end up with some good results. Even if you don't have a grand vista to look at, it still can create some neat images and things that are sort of fun to play around with. So that's a little bit more information about your panoramic mode on your Fuji XT1 or XT2. Go try it out. See if you can find a scene and put it together and see what it looks like, rather than just a single focal length. See what it would look like as a panoramic, what you would see in the big picture there. So, well, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to this Fuji Friday on photography. Subscribe and invite a friend. If you have questions, ask them, and I'd love to help. Thanks a lot.